Hello, I'm Bernie Bro. I want to talk about this Confederate flag controversy that just keeps coming up and give you my take on this. Um, for many years, this there's been a controversy over monuments, flags, the way that society looks upon Confederate soldiers during the Civil War, and a lot of emotions have been stirred up by both sides of the issue. Um, and I'm just saying that it doesn't have to be that way. Now, overall, I am siding with those who are naysayers against Confederate flag symbols because for several reasons. One, I know the Civil War wasn't 100% about slavery. I understand that. I get that. But slavery played a role, and it was pretty much still the big issue. Yeah, there was the industrial North versus agrarian South, and to a degree there might have been the states' rights thing, but it was still centered around the issue of slavery and whether we ought to have it or not. And I am glad that it's gone. And yes, the Confederates, the South. I'm a Southerner. The South were the bad guys in that regard. Um, and the thing about it is, now I don't like the idea of the Confederate flag being a state flag in some of the various states. I believe Mississippi is still they still uses the flag, that particular flag, and I don't like it myself. Um, and the thing about it is that that even for those in the white community that don't look upon the flag as legitimately a racist symbol, and I do believe there are some whites that kind of look at the flag in a more benign way, and they have an admiration for their Southern culture and whatever the old what was the argument or the for it. It's not hate, it's heritage. I think maybe for some it's that, but still, the flag is the symbol of is a symbol for slavery. And if you're an African American, I can see where an African American would be as offended by the Confederate flags in the same way that a Jewish person would be offended by the swastika. You have to understand, Hitler killed 6 million Jews. Um, in the South, while there was not systematic extermination, there was the institution of slavery, and and I can understand where the African American community would look at it as almost a celebration of a time past, and I I can understand why they do not want that as a taxpayer. They should not have to live under this notion that there is a wink wink a blessing over the institution of slavery. Now, do I say tear it all down and erase history? Nonsense. Absolutely not. There is an intelligent way to solve this shit, and that is to take those Confederate monuments and the Confederate flags and all of that. There's this thing called a museum, and when you go to a museum, you go to a museum to recognize things for what they were, good or bad. Is something to remember by. Um, I mean, I ever been to the Holocaust Museum in Washington D.C. I mean, there you could see where the victims of the Holocaust that existed, and all that they went through. Uh, I'm all for putting this in a museum where people can remember. I'm not so zealous enough like maybe some of the radical lefties that would want to tear it all down. but I say put it in a museum. We can learn from our history, and to make damn sure history is never repeated. And I think that should settle the problem. I do not know why both sides can, make this as an agreement. But at the same time, this whole notion of this whole notion of well, the what Trump said at the rally back in 2017, the Unite the Right rally, that there were good people on both sides. No, Donald Trump. If you're an alt right person and you're on the side of those that want to hold on to it in the Confederate memories that were there at the Unite the Right rally, the people who were there at the Unite the Right rally, who were there with the Richard Spencers and the David Dukes, they were not good people. They're bad people. Do they have a right to protest in favor of their monuments? Sure, but the monuments still needed to go. And there's nothing radical about what I'm saying here about that. But the point is that as far as I'm concerned, I side with those saying take it down as a public symbol for your state. It has no bearing. I mean, what would happen? What would happen if the British flag was being now nothing wrong with the British flag from my perspective, but well, considering we liberated ourselves from Great Britain, what happens if we see the British flag all over the place? You know, they were an occupying power, and as far as I'm concerned, the Confederacy was an adversary of the official United States government, which at that time was the North. And so, even from that perspective, being the victor and the true United States won the Civil War, and that was the presidency of Abraham Lincoln, and that's the way I look at it. And as far as I'm concerned, um, the Confederate symbols need to come down in the various states across the country, and just move it to a museum. Thank you. And if you like what you heard, please press like, subscribe, feel free to share. And Bernie Bro, we'll talk soon.